Good morning, everyone. Oh, crap. I forgot to plug up my mic. Well, that's okay. I don't really need it. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Let me go over here to my live chat. YouTube monitor. Good morning. Not my verbiage. Prayers, hun. Sorry to hear that you've had COVID. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Red Rum. Never lose hope. Good morning, Sissy in chat. You know what? Never lose hope. That's what my whole family calls me. No one calls me Celeste. A couple people call me Cece, but most, like my brothers, they call me Sis. Hey, Brooks Channel. Sick but listening. It's been a long time since I've seen you. Hope you've been doing well. So this morning, we're going to talk about JonBenet Ramsey's case. Now, I am not an expert on this case. I'm not an expert on any case. This happened when I was a teenager in 1996, December 26, 1996, 24 years ago. It'll be 24 years, December 26. JonBenet would be 30 years old. Sissy, sorry, my phone does that, but I love you. You could be my sissy. That's what we all call my sisters. Oh, okay. And my phone changes a lot of words. It's crazy. It'll change it to misspelled words. Last time I did JonBenet Ramsey's case, some smart aleck commented in my comment sections like, "Oh, her parents were not exonerated." Yes, the DA came out and exonerated them. Doesn't mean they're really innocent, though, but she did do a press conference and exonerate them. So please check your facts before you start correcting me, okay? I'm a little hateful this morning. Hey, faithful one. You always get those smart alecks. Instead of telling you something in a nice, respectful way, they got to start off by, "You shouldn't have done your research." And you know what? Her comment was wrong because they were exonerated by the DA. But like I said, that don't mean they're innocent. So we're going to start from the beginning. Let me get my stuff pulled up here. In my thumbnail, I tried to use pictures of JonBenet, pictures that, where she just looked like a kid in it. In my thumbnail, there was like 2 of her beauty pageant pictures, but, she didn't have too much makeup on. The thing that messes me up with this is the fact the grand jury wanted to indict, but the DA refused. Yes, he refused to sign it. Now, when that lady DA took over, I can't remember her name. I didn't write it down. But anyways, she did that press conference and exonerated them. People was pissed about that because, the DA did want, or the grand jury did want to indict them for, what was it? Child abuse, neglect, something like that. Now, there's a lady here on YouTube that's really into this case. Her channel name is Linda Loves Music. She does video after video. Well, she did last year. And some of her video titles, she flat out says JonBenet proof. John Ramsey killed JonBenet. Lady, come on, enough with that. I do not think John Ramsey did anything to JonBenet. Patsy Ramsey, not so sure about. Okay, let's get with it. I'm so glad I figured out how to pull up my YouTube on my laptop while I'm streaming so I can see the live chat and don't have to use my daggone phone to look at it. And we're going to look at Patsy Ramsey's handwriting compared to the ransom note. We can look at the autopsy, not the pictures, just the autopsy report if you guys want. Okay. Let me get started here. Let me get a drink of coffee. Oh, before I get started, Carol Baskin's employee, she about had her arm ripped off yesterday at the shoulder. She broke protocol, stuck her hand into the cage, I guess to open the door. It was stuck or something, and that tiger got a hold of her and about ripped her arm off. Oh my gosh, I can't believe she'd be 30. Yeah, I think JonBenet's birthday was just like a few months back, I think. 30 years old. And John Ramsey had already lost one daughter. When he married Patsy Ramsey, he had 3 kids. And his daughter got killed in a car wreck. Okay. In the early morning hours of December 26, 1996, John and Patsy Ramsey woke to find their 6-year-old daughter, JonBenet, missing from her bed at their home in Boulder, Colorado. Patsy and John had woken up early to prepare for a trip when Patsy discovered a ransom note on the stairs demanding $118,000 for their daughter's safe return. Despite the note's warning not to involve the police, because in that ransom note it said that they would behead JonBenet, Patsy immediately called them, as well as friends and family, in order to aid in the search for little JonBenet. Police arrived at 5:55 a.m. and found no signs of forced entry, but did not search the basement, where her body would eventually be found. And I think her body was actually wrapped in her favorite blanket. Okay. Before JonBenet's body was even found, there were many investigative mistakes made. Only JonBenet's room was cornered up. I can't pronounce that word. Roped off. So friends and family roamed the rest of the house, picking up things and potentially destroying evidence. The Boulder PD also shared evidence they found with the Ramseys and delayed conducting their informal interviews with the parents. At 1 p.m., the detectives instructed Mr. Ramsey and a family friend to go around the house to see if anything was amiss. She actually told them to search from the top to the bottom. But John went to search the basement first with the family friend. And actually, that family friend had went to the basement before searching. And he had opened up the room that JonBenet's body was in. But he said he couldn't find the light switch. He tried to fumble for it, couldn't find it. It was pitch dark in there, so he just closed the door and went on. Okay. I lost my place. See if anything was missed. The first place they looked was the basement, where they found JonBenet's body. John Ramsey immediately picked up his daughter and brought her upstairs, which unfortunately destroyed potential evidence by disturbing the crime scene. If I'm not mistaken, they actually took a blanket off the couch and covered her up. Hey, Mike. Good morning. Michelle, good morning. If I missed anyone. Brooks Channel, I seen that Carol Baskin. I thought of you immediately. Yeah, freaking Carol. Okay. During the autopsy, it was discovered that JonBenet had died from asphyxiation due to strangulation, in addition to a skull fracture. Her mouth had been covered in duct tape. Her wrist and neck were wrapped with a white cord. Her torso had been covered in a white blanket, which was JonBenet's favorite blanket. There was no conclusive evidence of rape, as no semen was found on the body, and her little private area appeared to have been wiped clean, although a sexual assault had occurred. The makeshift garage was made by using a length of cord and a part of a paintbrush from the basement, which belonged to Patsy, the paintbrush, and I think there was evidence that she had actually bought that rope at some point. The coroner also found what was believed to be pineapple in JonBenet's stomach. Now, I have read the autopsy, and the autopsy states it may be pineapple. They don't know, but it may be pineapple. It was like a greenish brown color, they were saying. Her parents did not remember giving her any the night before she died, but there was a bowl of pineapple in the kitchen which had her 9-year-old brother Burke's fingerprints on it. However, this meant little since time cannot be attributed to fingerprints. The Ramseys maintained Burke was in his room all night asleep, and there was never any physical evidence to reflect otherwise. Now, Patsy and John said that JonBenet was asleep when they arrived home from that Christmas party that night, and JonBenet was carried up to bed by John Ramsey. He laid her on the bed, and then Patsy Ramsey came up and changed her into her PJs. And they say that, she did not get up for any snacks. There are two popular theories in the Ramsey case: the family theory and the intruder theory. The initial investigation focused heavily on the Ramsey family for many reasons. The police felt that the ransom note was staged as it was unusually long, written using a pen and paper from the Ramsey's house, and demanded almost the exact amount of money that John had received as a bonus earlier in the year. Additionally, the Ramseys were reluctant to cooperate with police, though they later said this was because they feared the police would not conduct a full investigation and target them as easy suspects. However, all three members of the immediate family were questioned by investigators and submitted handwriting samples so they could be compared to the ransom letter. Both John and Burke were cleared of any suspicion of writing the note, although much was made that Patsy could not be conclusively cleared by her handwriting sample. This analysis was not further supported by any other evidence. Now, they said, I've watched some of their interviews. We can listen to some if you guys want, but they said that, that they were warned by family and friends, hey, the police are zeroing in on you. And they were advised not to talk to the police. A lot of people are like, why wouldn't you cooperate with police and your little girl has just been murdered? I try to be open-minded and stuff. And, there are a lot of people that have been charged and convicted of crimes that they did not commit. So I can kind of see both sides of that. Personally, I would have been doing anything I could to help the police. Okay. Despite a larger pool of suspects, the media immediately focused on JonBenet's parents, and they spent years under the harsh limelight of the public eye. In 1999, a Colorado grand jury voted to indict the Ramseys on child endangerment and obstruction of a murder investigation. However, the prosecutor felt that the evidence did not meet the beyond a reasonable doubt standard and declined to prosecute. JonBenet's parents were never officially named as suspects in the murder. Alternatively, the intruder theory had lots of physical evidence to support it. There was a boot print found next to JonBenet's body, which did not belong to anyone in the family. Let me just stop right there for a minute. So I watched a video of this private investigator that was hired by the Ramseys. He was showing this reporter the boot print, and he was telling the reporter about a neighbor that lived not too far from the Ramseys. He took his own life a few months after JonBenet was killed, but guess what? He had a pair of those high-tech boots. Guess what? His boots matched that print. But police never would investigate it. Okay. There was also a broken window in the basement, which was believed to be the most likely point of entry for an intruder. Now, John Ramsey said he had actually broken out a window, the basement window, when he got locked outside. That spider and webbed was untouched. Yeah, well, they could have got in some other way. Let's see. Okay, I lost my place. Point of entry for the intruder. Additionally, there was DNA from drops of blood from an unknown male found on her underwear. Um, the floors in the Ramsey home were heavily carpeted, making it plausible for an intruder to have carried JonBenet downstairs without waking the family. Okay, so someone's going to break into the house. They're going to go into the kitchen. They're going to get Patsy Ramsey's legal pad and pen and write a practice ransom letter and then write another one. They're going to practice. That don't make sense. That don't make sense. It's like a damn 3-page letter. Hey, Lisa, good morning. Okay. The floors in the Ramseys' home were heavily carpeted, making it plausible for an intruder to have carried JonBenet downstairs without waking the family. One of the most famous suspects was John Carr. Mark John Carr, that's his name. Now, I have saw some of his handwriting, and it looks similar to the ransom note, too. But I got to tell you, that ransom note looks just like Patsy Ramsey's handwriting. And I watched the video of her talking to the police, and they're talking about the handwriting. They're asking her, does this look like your handwriting on this picture? And I don't know. She acts really weird in the video. Yeah, she had to have written it. She had to have. Okay. So Mark John Carr was arrested in 2016 when he confessed to killing JonBenet by accident after he had drugged and sexually assaulted her. He's a complete freaking weirdo, y'all. Carr was eventually dismissed as a suspect after it was revealed that no drugs had been found in JonBenet's system. Police could not confirm he was in Boulder at the time, and his DNA did not match the profile generated from the samples found. Now, I watched the video, and it said that the DNA was in question because the DNA did not just come from one person. It was like 3 people combined. So really, the Boulder DA came out and exonerated them because of the DNA did not match the Ramseys, right? But later it was revealed that it was like 3 people's DNA combined. They were saying that some of the DNA, like that was found like in her underwear and stuff, could have been someone's DNA from the factory where the little panties were made. Oh, Burke on Dr. Phil. Man, he was so weird, Amber. So weird. Okay. Most of the recent investigation in the case revolves around the DNA profiles developed from the sample found in her underwear and the touch DNA later developed from her long johns. The profile from her underwear was entered into CODIS, the National DNA Database, in 2003, but no matches have been identified. In 2006, Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey took over the case. She agreed with the federal prosecutor that the intruder theory was more plausible than the Ramseys killing their daughter. Under Lacey's lead, investigators developed a DNA profile from touch DNA left behind by skin cells on her long johns. 2008, Lacey released a statement detailing the DNA evidence and fully exonerating the Ramsey family, saying in part, the Boulder District Attorney's Office does not consider any member of the Ramsey family, including John, Patsy, or Burke Ramsey, as suspects in the case. We make this announcement now because we have recently obtained this new scientific evidence that adds significantly to the exemplary, I can't pronounce that, value of the previous scientific evidence. We do so with full appreciation for the other evidence in this case. Local, national, and even international publicity has focused on the murder of JonBenet Ramsey. Many members of the public came to believe that one or more of the Ramseys, including her mother or father, or even her brother, were responsible for this brutal homicide. Those suspicions were not based on evidence that had been tested in court. Rather, they were based on evidence reported by the media. 2010, the case was officially reopened with renewed focus on the DNA samples. Further testing has been conducted on the samples, and experts now believe that the sample is actually from 2 individuals rather than 1. Oh, my bad. Earlier I said 3. It's actually 2. Sorry about that. In 2016, it was announced the DNA would be sent to the CBI to be tested using more modern methods, and authorities hope to develop an even stronger DNA profile of the killer. In 2016, CBS aired the case of JonBenet Ramsey, which implied her then 9-year-old brother, Burke, was the killer, despite the fact he was cleared by the DNA evidence that proved the existence of an intruder. Burke filed a $750 million lawsuit against CBS for defamation. The case was settled in 2019, and while the terms of the settlement were not disclosed, his lawyer stated that the case was amicably resolved to the satisfaction of all parties. Now, JonBenet's case is still open and remains unsolved. Now, let's talk about all this. I just wanted to give a rundown of the case. You know, there may be somebody that watches this video and is not familiar with it. Let me get out of my live chat for a minute. I want to look at this ransom note. Oh gosh, here comes my little annoying beagle. I hope she don't interrupt us. Let me get the ransom note pulled up. We're going to look at it. Now, we got a side-by-side of Patsy's handwriting compared to the ransom note. Let me screen share. You know who I thought made a good suspect? Is the guy that played Santa Claus every year. He really liked JonBenet, him and his wife. And they had actually lost a daughter. Their daughter disappeared like 20-some years before JonBenet's disappearance. And she disappeared around the holidays too. Now, one of JonBenet's friends came out and told her mom that JonBenet had said, Santa Claus is going to secretly visit me after Christmas. And this Santa Claus, this guy that played Santa Claus, his wife had written a play. And this play was about a little girl that was sexually assaulted and murdered. Okay. So the letter that has the red around it in the upper left-hand corner, that is Patsy Ramsey's handwriting. They got her to write out the ransom note to compare the handwriting. Now look at this. It looks almost identical. The Y's, the L's, the C's, the F's. I mean, it looks almost identical. Now, in a video I watched, at the end of the letter, it's signed Victory, SBTC. Now, I watched a video saying that those initials matched the actual college or something that John Ramsey went to. Now, when I was reading this letter, in the letter it says, use that Southern common sense. Just the way this letter is written, it actually looks like someone from the South wrote it. Us Southerners talk about common sense all the time. Well, I know I do. I think Patsy wrote this letter. I really do. Why she wrote it, I'm not quite sure. Let me just find my chat on my phone since I've got this pulled up on my laptop screen. I need to see what y'all are saying. Okay. Oh, I got a super chat and didn't even know it. Bailey, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Thanks for being you. Oh, Bailey, you're so sweet. I'm glad you started coming back in here. I really am. You and Samara and the rest of the gang. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. The Santa's man's named Bill McReynolds. Thank you, Brooke. Thank you. I should have took some notes and jotted some things down. Subbock Bay Training Center is where John was stationed at. So let me write that down. Thank you, guys. That's why I love y'all helping me. Now, isn't that weird that those initials match the Subbock Bay Training Center where John was stationed at? Mike says, AKA SBTC. Hey, Jason. Now, if Patsy didn't, could someone have made their handwriting look like Patsy's? Damn, that would have took a lot of damn practice, wouldn't it? A lot of practice. Now, one of the cops' theories is Patsy snapped. She was sick of JonBenet bedwetting. Here's a good question. Why was JonBenet wetting the bed so much at 6 years old? My brother used to wet the bed. Most of the time, I'm pretty sure when kids wet the bed a lot, and they're not a toddler anymore, there could be some kind of abuse going on. I watched in a video, one of the Ramsey's family members said JonBenet would just holler at anybody to come and wipe her little tail for her after she used the restroom. I thought that was kind of strange. And they were asked, hey, did John go wipe her when she would yell? And they said, no, Patsy always did it. What does that mean, Mike? I'm not familiar with that word. Though he was later released and proved to be only a bizarre footnote in the John saga, Carr remained a popular guest on national TV programs months after he was released from jail. Something interesting I found out, Brooke. Okay, so this Carr guy was from Atlanta, right? He had a neighbor who he was friends with, convicted pedophile. Guess where that neighbor was when JonBenet's murder took place? He was in Boulder, Colorado. Don't know if there's anything to it. Also, I saw one of Carr's friends or classmates from high school. She got out her yearbook, right? Opened it up. And when he signed her yearbook, he used some words, and it would made his signature SBTC. And his handwriting did kind of look similar to the ransom letter. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. This is such a crazy letter. Listen carefully. We're a group of individuals that represent a small foreign fraction. We respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills. Let me see if I can see the rest of it. Make sure that you bring an adequate size something attached to the bank, I guess like a briefcase. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. Here's something, guys. Okay. Why would you write a ransom letter and then leave the child in the basement? Don't that kind of like defeat the purpose of the ransom letter? That does not make any sense. Let's see what else it says. Anyways, something really I felt strange. They said, do not contact police. We're going to kill your daughter. And that's the first damn thing they did. First thing they did. Yes, it was the exact amount of his bonus. Now, a lot of people theorize that JonBenet was not asleep when they arrived home that evening from the Christmas party. Burke wanted some pineapple. He loved to eat pineapple and milk, I reckon. And a lot of people think JonBenet, because JonBenet liked pineapple, might have stuck her hand in his bowl of fruit, and he hit her in the head with something. Patsy and John covered it up because John had done lost one daughter in a car wreck. Here JonBenet was dead. They didn't want to lose Burke. That's what some people theorize. And his interview on Dr. Phil was so weird. He had like this permanent smile on his face. I don't know if it was a smile or an uncomfortable expression or what was going on, but it was really, really creepy. I mean, you're talking about the murder of your little sister. Now, I've heard some experts say that they didn't take it as a smile. It was like an uncomfortable look. Maybe abuse was going on. That's why their son is so different. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see why he acts weird like now because, he went through a lot as a kid. His sister was murdered. Everybody thinks his family did it. A lot of people think he did it. I reckon Patsy and Burke went out shopping one day and they was checking out and Burke looked at the magazines, as they was checking out, and there was one there. It's like Burke Ramsey kills his sister, JonBenet, and John Ramsey said Burke just burst into tears. It was very odd. After the killing, Burke's taken out of society and protected. Yeah, he still doesn't go out into society much. He works from home. I don't really know what he does for a living. I think he's like a computer analyst or something like that. He's a rich one because he won that lawsuit. I mean, I don't blame him for suing them. They did, in that documentary, they did make out like he killed his sister. And if he really didn't, then he has every right in this world to sue him. If I was him, which I know lie detectors are not always accurate, but I think I'd hire me, a private analyst, give me a lie detector test. We call them polygraphs. Also, which is odd, some people don't know this, but the suitcase in the basement had a blanket with John Andrews' semen. Oh my goodness, really? Let me see if I can find us some. Let me get out of this. One of the videos of Patsy does act weird. Now, I will defend her on some things, like a lot of people judge her, in the interviews because she shakes her head a lot when she talks. That's a very Southern thing to do. That's like a little joke inside my family. People, my family's always saying stuff about me shaking my head when I talk. They'll call me Aunt Mabel because my Aunt Mabel does that. My granny's sister and my granny's other sister, Aunt Birdie, she does that. So I didn't find that strange. Hell, as I'm sitting here talking right now, I'm probably shaking my head, and I know I'm moving my hands. I talk with my hands all the time. Hey, Colleen. Hey, Irish Eyes. I saw pictures of that suitcase, like right underneath the window. I actually saw a cop on a video do a reenactment of getting through that basement window to prove that you could get through that window without touching the cobwebs that were in the corners. And this guy did it. He was a Little Maid guy. I'm going with the brother. Yeah, because why would Patsy Ramsey just all of a sudden decide to kill her daughter on Christmas night? By the time she was killed, it's like December 26th. But why would she decide to do that? I mean, I know investigators say she snapped because JonBenet had a bedwetting problem. But the maid there said, it wasn't a big deal. There was like a washing machine not too far from JonBenet's bedroom. Do you know JonBenet even had a Christmas tree in her bedroom? Let me get to my playlist here. I got a private playlist. Okay. I want to play the DNA video. Let me play it from my phone because, no, I can play it from here, I guess. Just let it get past the ad. We'll screen share it because this is talking about the DNA evidence.
JonBenet Ramsey. And with the 20th anniversary of Colorado's most infamous unsolved killing, we've seen a deluge of television specials and investigations. But 9 Wants to Know decided to focus on the one piece of evidence heralded as key to solving this crime: DNA that's been in the FBI's national database since 2003. DNA that Boulder's former district attorney is certain belongs to the killer. But now a 9 News Boulder Daily Camera investigation found it's evidence that may be worthless in terms of solving this case, putting that DNA in doubt. It's a murder with 2 competing theories. JonBenet Ramsey was either killed on Christmas night 1996 by someone in her family, or she was killed by an intruder.
Let's skip to the experts.
Family of any involvement in her death.
That just baffled my mind.
Shocking fellow prosecutors.
I wouldn't have done it because I don't think that's the role of the district.
And now I'm deeply concerned.
It's the latest controversy in a case full of problems. A bungled crime scene, infighting among investigators and prosecutors.
First of all, many of you know that last week,
A decision by former District Attorney Alex Hunter to drop charges authorized by a grand jury against John and Patsy Ramsey. Mary Lacey succeeded Hunter in 2001 with a reputation as a strong supporter of the intruder theory. When she issued her exoneration letter and apologized to the Ramseys, she created the impression that if someone could just identify the person whose DNA profile had been found, the case would be solved.
We now have pretty irrefutable DNA evidence, according to the DA's office. And that's the most significant thing to me. And certainly we are grateful that they acknowledged that we, based on that, certainly could not have been involved.
So we had D8,
D21.
9 wants to know, and the Daily Camera took those same lab results to forensic experts.
Yeah.
The first time that data had ever been independently evaluated. And those experts agreed. The DNA results don't come close to proving that an intruder killed JonBenet.
It's certainly possible that an intruder was responsible for the murder, but I don't think that the DNA evidence proves it.
The only way I can describe this evidence is uninformative. It really is, it's not dispositive of the presence of a perpetrator. There is foreign DNA, but that foreign DNA can easily be accounted for by a number of innocent mechanisms.
Male DNA was originally identified in JonBenet's underwear during testing in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Lacey ordered new tests in 2007 and 2008 on JonBenet's long johns and nightgown. It's those tests that led Lacey to exonerate the Ramseys.
I can tell you in my experience,
A decision that confounded Troy Ide, a former U.S. attorney who was on the Ramsey task force appointed by Governor Owens.
there's a real danger whenever you say, okay, we've looked at this and we've categorically determined something.
The experts who reviewed the DNA test data for 9 News and the Daily Camera questioned Lacey's exoneration on multiple fronts. First, the DNA profile Lacey said belonged to the killer may not be the profile of a single person.
There is a reasonable chance that what has been attributed to a single individual actually represents DNA from multiple individuals that has been sort of hobbled together into a single profile.
Well, it's a rather obvious point, but I mean, if you're looking for somebody who doesn't exist because it's actually several people, it's a problem.
And as for the DNA on the long johns, heralded by Lacey as conclusive, our experts believe those 2 spots are mixtures of genetic material from more than 2 people.
It looks and appears to me to be at least 3 individuals. And so that there's a mixture here that's not just a single profile.
Which is precisely what Mary Lacey knew before she exonerated the Ramseys. This report, obtained by 9 News and the Daily Camera, went to Lacey's office 3 months before she cleared the family. Of the 2 spots on JonBenet's long johns, the report says it's likely more than 2 people contributed to the mixtures. And after eliminating...
So she exonerated them based on DNA evidence, and the DNA evidence really doesn't exonerate them. It's the DNA of multiple people. Multiple people. Okay, we're not going to listen to all that. We're going to go to this next video. Listen to Patsy for a sec.
Remember writing it.
Okay.
I mean,
But-
I don't know. I may have.
All right, but do you recognize the handwriting as being your handwriting?
No.
Okay. I'll ask you if you recognize any of the photographs in the document.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to ask you if you recognize any of the handwriting in the document.
You could tell she recognizes
Recognize
it.
it as mine or someone else's. or
Now I'll
just-
go to the next question. Do you recognize any of the handwriting as being your handwriting?
Not particularly.
So you could
Drama. Patsy died June 24th, 2006.
couldn't say with any degree of certainty that that was your handwriting.
No.
All right, thank you. Now, Mrs. Ramsey, I'm going to ask you to look at plaintiff's exhibit number 3 marked for identification and ask you whether or not you recognize this document.
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
An entry form for the Boulder Christmas Parade.
Have you ever seen this entry form before today?
Yes.
Could you tell me when you've seen it, if you remember?
That entry form for the parade, the handwriting on that looks just like the ransom note letter.
Well, I obviously saw it to fill it out.
Okay. Then that was my next question. Do you recognize the handwriting in this entry form?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me whose handwriting you recognize it to be?
My handwriting.
So all of the handwriting on both pages is your handwriting. Is that correct? I mean, no one else.
Well, this on the second page is pretty blurry, but I
Right.
believe it is mine.
Okay, so nobody at this event filled in part of it for you.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Switch this one. May have an ad. I don't know.
Let's revisit what Governor Dillon said on national television this morning. He said that you were hiding behind your public relations people, your attorneys, and now you were hiding behind easy journalism. He specifically said, why hadn't you talked with Peter Jennings and Tom Brokaw? Your response, Mrs. Ramsey.
As a woman, I am appalled that he said that. I consider Barbara Walters and Katie Couric to be one of the two most professional, experienced journalists in our country today.
Yeah, that's a remarkable comment. We specifically decided to go with Barbara Walters and Katie Couric because they are tops in their field and they're tough. And we didn't want to be criticized for not being challenged. They were.
Oh, sorry, guys. The audio was kind of low on that video. I'm sorry about that. Hey, Kim. Was she covering for Burke? You know, guys, that is my theory and thoughts on it. I don't want to come out and say, oh, Burke killed his sister, because I don't know if he did. But what I do know is I do think that Patsy wrote that ransom letter. It was wrote on her notepad. And you know how you write on notepads and then the next piece of paper under it, you can see like the imprint? Someone had wrote a practice ransom letter. Now, what kind of intruder is going to do that? When an intruder comes into the house, they're usually pretty quick about it. If they're going to steal a child, they need to get in and out without getting caught. I listened to one interview, and Patsy and John said later on, a few years after the murder, they think the intruder was already inside of the house when they came home that night hiding. There was a door that was left open. Also, something else, they didn't set the alarm that night after they got home. Let me get back over to my live chat here. Now, there was another pedophile that came out, I believe it was last, let me mute. Okay. A pedophile that had wrote a letter from prison to a friend of his, and he said that he killed JonBenet. The pineapple thing always bothered me. Yeah, Kim, in the autopsy, they say it may have been pineapple. They weren't for sure. I was just making sure y'all can still hear me because I'm looking at my screen here and I don't see it moving. I always thought the guilt was on their faces. Yeah, let me look up this about this weirdo that wrote that letter. If I can find his stinking picture. I see a video of him. Yeah, he wrote, let me get his picture. Screen share it. Yeah, I'll use my phone to find the info on him. Okay. I think I remember doing a video on this. Give me just one sec. Should have had this already pulled up, but I didn't. Oh, here it is. His name is Gary Olivia, convicted pedophile. A longtime suspect in the murder of JonBenet Ramsey has finally admitted he killed the then 6-year-old beauty pageant queen. Gary Olivia, age 54, convicted pedophile who's currently serving a 10-year sentence in a Colorado prison for child pornography, has admitted in letters obtained by Daily Mail TV he killed her by accident. Olivia, who was once jailed for trying to strangle his mother, wrote, "I never loved anyone like I did JonBenet, and yet I let her slip and her head bashed in half, and I watched her die. It was an accident. Please believe me. She was not like the other kids, you sick son of a bitch." In another letter, Olivia wrote, "JonBenet completely changed me and removed all evil from me. Just one look at her beautiful face, her glowing, beautiful skin, and her divine God body. You sicko. I realized I was wrong to kill other kids. Yet by accident she died, and it was all my fault." Okay. I think that they come out and said this guy was full of crap. I can't believe anybody would find a child attractive. And who are these other kids that he's claiming that he killed? He's in prison for child pornography, or he was. Let's see what year this was. This came out in January 2019. So he's still probably in prison because he was serving 10 years. I don't know how long he'd been in there. He was arrested, in 2016. Police discovered he had 335 photos of JonBenet, including photos from the 6-year-old's autopsy. Investigators believe several men were involved in JonBenet's death. Really? I'd like to see them prove that. I don't think several people were involved in her death. That's just my opinion. I think that this was an inside job. I think this was a cover-up. Let's pull up her autopsy. It's no pictures, guys, so don't worry. Let me just get it here. It's just words. I wouldn't show her autopsy pictures. Now, I do have a picture that an artist drawed of the crime scene. I could show that. And we'll talk about this Santa Claus guy because I think he was a real good suspect too. Okay. Some of this autopsy, I could not understand. Like when it was talking about her little private area, to me, I took it as that it was almost like staged to look like she had been sexually assaulted because there was no tearing. There was a little bit of blood, I believe, in her underwear, but there's no tearing. Okay. And they did say that she was bashed in the head, but she did not die of that. She would have eventually died of that, of course, without help. But she actually died from strangulation from that garage. Oh, let me see. I need to go to the... I'm not going to read all of this. I wanted to go to the part about pineapple. Just give me a second. She did have a heart drawn on the palm of her hand. Someone must have done that at the Christmas party. Kidneys, liver, let me see. Gallbladder, stomach. Oh, right here. Here we go. Stomach contains a small amount of viscera, something other, to green to tan colored thick mucus material without particulate matter identified. The gastric, oh my gosh, I can't read I can't pronounce these words. Okay, so right here it says that there is some yellow to light green tan apparent vegetable of fruit material, which may represent fragments of pineapple. It says may represent. That could have been some other kind of vegetable, green beans or anything. I'm gonna go down here. Looking for something else right here. It is. Hold on, just a minute. I'm reading this. So it says like her private area was inflamed, but like, how do you say that word? Like the hymen was not torn. So it's almost like it was staged for her to look like an intruder had came in and molested her. Because you think if an intruder had came in and they're going to go through all that trouble of taking that child, writing a ransom note, they would have sexually assaulted her. Okay, let me get back over to my live chat here. Thanks, Cece. I never knew that it said may have been pineapple. The media always says it was. I should know not to trust it. Hey, Kim, I am bad. I'm bad to do that too. Trust what the media says. I'm sorry, guys. I can't pronounce some of those words in the autopsy. If you guys would like to read over it yourselves, let me go get the link. Hold on, I can just get it on my phone, I guess. No intruder is going to use a paintbrush and sexually assault someone. And you know something else? Burke is not going to be able to make a garrote like that at the age of 8 years old. How old was he? 8 or 9 years old? Now, a lot of people think that John Ramsey was molesting his daughter. I'm not so sure about that. I just don't think that that's just my opinion, that he molested JonBenet. There could be a reasonable explanation why she wet the bed all the time. She was a little bit spoiled, they said, kind of a little bit of a diva. And Patsy Ramsey was sick with cancer at about the time that JonBenet should have been potty training. So that could explain some of it, some of the bedwetting, you know. I have learned when people with money make a large, very large donation to the police department, things change. He doesn't strike me to be the type to do that. But hey, what do I know? Yeah. Well, sometimes, you know, it's the people you least expect to do something like that. What was I doing? Oh, I was going to get that autopsy. Let me get down my little link room. Okay, copy link. If you guys want to read over this, but there it is. Autopsy files. There's no pictures, it's just words. And let me show y'all how JonBenet looked. This is just an artist picture. This is not a crime scene photo. I mean, her hands were tied above her head. I mean, this someone Whoever who did this knew exactly how to make a garage. This picture's even got the little heart that was drawn on the palm of her hand in it. Bless her little heart. And they think the marks on her, there were some marks found on her, was made by a taser. And this says, this is the artist's recreation from the information in new autopsy report and police sources. Yeah, Burke always said he didn't hear a thing. Now, in his interviews with police, he acts really strange. I know he was just a kid at the time, but they show him a picture of the kitchen table that has a bowl of pineapple in it. And they ask him if he recognizes anything in the picture. And he points to like something in the corner of the picture instead of the bowl of pineapple that he was eating that night. And his fingerprints were on that bowl. So was Patsy's. He had him a little midnight snack. He also claims that he heard his mom and dad downstairs. His mom was crying and stuff, but he never got up out of bed to go see what was going on. He said he thought, that they would eventually come and tell him. But in the 911 call, some people claim that they can hear Burke in the background asking something like, "What's going on?" Now, the Ramseys have always denied that. They've always said that Burke was in his room and never came downstairs. I have a sixth sense when it comes to toxic or harmful people. An instant get a bad feeling if they're around me and their body language is off. Yes, me too, Brooke. Me too. I can spot out a weirdo a mile away. And you know what's crazy? All the crazy people always want to come my way, I must have something on my forehead stamped. Crazy people, come try to be my friend. Because he already knew what happened. I'm with you, Mike. I'm with you. That's what I think too about this case. I think that Patsy Ramsey covered up for her son. That's just a theory, just my opinion. Can't prove it. I mean, I just don't see Patsy killing her daughter on Christmas night. JonBenet's doctor said he never saw any evidence of abuse. Police interviewed him. He gave interviews to the media. But most kids' doctors aren't examining the private area of little children. Hey, Natalie. Natalie, I track those weirdos too. You could hear something in the background, Kim. I agree with you 100%. I listened to it several different times, and you could definitely hear something in the background. Now, let's look at this Santa guy. Now, if I'm not mistaken, him and his wife worked for the Ramseys. His wife was their housekeeper or something like that, maid. His name is Bill McReynolds. And like I said, one of JonBenet's friends told her mom that JonBenet said, "Hey, Santa Claus is going to visit me after Christmas, but I can't tell anyone. It's a secret." Who is Bill McReynolds? Here's a good one. Let's click on it. And by the way, Patsy Ramsey was buried beside of JonBenet. They got JonBenet's headstone here in this article. That's why. Okay. Who is Bill McReynolds? A family friend who died in 2002 was considered in JonBenet's murder, and Bill McReynolds played Santa Claus every year at the Christmas parties. McReynolds was a retired journalism professor and a close friend of the Ramseys. McReynolds played Santa Claus at a Christmas party at the Ramsey house a few nights before JonBenet was killed. His wife, Janet McReynolds, was also reportedly present at the party. Other connections between McReynolds and the Ramsey family have apparently been a cause for concern for investigators. The Guardian reported that McReynolds had allegedly given JonBenet a Christmas card, which reportedly stated that the 6-year-old would be receiving a special present after Christmas. Additionally, Bill McReynolds' 9-year-old daughter was reportedly abducted on December 26th, the same day JonBenet was found dead, only years prior in the 1970s. Another eerie-sounding connection theory is that Janet McReynolds had allegedly written a play about a young girl who had been molested, tortured, and killed in a basement in 1976. Okay, let me see. It says the McReynolds were reportedly cleared of all charges after submitting DNA samples. Now, we all know that those DNA samples is hogwash now. It's not like the DNA of one suspect. It's the DNA of multiple people. So how can anyone be cleared? I gave up Facebook because of weirdos. Yes. Oh, okay, Mike. Sorry. I got that confused. So Linda Hoffman was the housekeeper, not Bill's wife. For some reason, I thought she was the housekeeper. Well, sometimes I get things confused. Thanks for correcting that. What else? I think that's really creepy that Santa Claus's wife had written a play about a child being molested, tortured in a basement, murdered in a basement. And then that happens to JonBenet and their daughter goes missing in the 70s on December 26th. Don't you think that's weird? I do. I think that's really, really weird. But the only thing is that damn ransom note. It looks just like Patsy Ramsey's handwriting. I mean, identical. It's freaking identical. And you could tell when they were asking her, about her handwriting and stuff. She was being real evasive and stuff. She wasn't wanting to answer them. Like, if you show me something I've written on and you say, hey, did you write that? I can glance at it and say, oh, yeah, that's my handwriting. Something's very strange. I know Santa was a professor in Boulder at one point as well. Yeah, it said he was a journalism professor. I think that play is really, really weird. I wish I could find that video. Let me see if I can find it. The Ramsey's private detective. Because that boot print looked just like the boot print of one of their neighbors. Let me see if I can find it on YouTube. For some reason, I didn't save that video. But like I said, even though this boot print matches to one of their neighbors who actually took his own life a few months after the murders, that damn ransom note still looks like Patsy wrote it. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, crap. It's inside the edition video. Can't find it. That's not the one. Private investigator JonBenet Ramsey could be linked to her murder. I'm going to play it from my phone because I'm afraid Inside Edition will strike me for playing their video if I show it all. Okay.
Is one of the most baffling mysteries in criminal history, the murder of little JonBenet Ramsey. Now a startling new twist in the case that has long defied investigators is making big headlines.
That's as loud as
This
it'll
was the
go.
Ramsey family home where JonBenet was murdered. Her parents remained under a cloud of suspicion for more than a decade until the DA finally cleared them. The case has remained unsolved for nearly 20 years, but now a private investigator believes he knows who killed JonBenet. Private investigator Ollie Gray was hired by the Ramsey family to investigate the murder back in 1996. Gray has spent the last 20 years probing the case. He now suffers from Parkinson's disease. After all those years, he says he finally believes he knows who strangled JonBenet. The individual Ollie Gray is pointing to is a man named Michael Helgoff. Do you believe Michael Helgoff was responsible for JonBenet's death?
I think that there's something there.
The investigator says the killer lived here, just a few miles from the Ramseys. His family's home and business have been torn down, leaving only this vacant lot. He's described as a troubled 26-year-old who died from a gunshot wound in his home less than 2 months after JonBenet was murdered. At the time, Helgoff's death was thought to be a suicide, but Ollie Gray now says he isn't so sure. His death does not fit with a suicide. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
So that would imply then you think Michael Helgoff may have been murdered, perhaps to keep him quiet.
I think it's worth following up on.
Gray says he's obtained a pair of boots once worn by Helgoff. This is Helgoff's boot, and this is the mysterious footprint that cops found in the basement of the Ramsey house where JonBenet was slain. You were able to compare these to the prints that were in JonBenet's basement, correct?
Yes.
And based upon your experience, was there a similarity?
Yes.
One similarity, the high-tech brand name is on both. Gray says he believes Helgoff had accomplices, but he doesn't know why anyone would have wanted to do away with a little...
His boots do look like the footprint. That's for sure. I was afraid to play the video, so I kind of muted it so y'all could see what he was talking about at least. It was really, really low. Hold on one second, guys. I gotta let my stinking little schnauzer out. Gosh, it's raining out there. So that private investigator thinks that guy, Michael, was killed so no one would find out that he was JonBenet Ramsey's real killer. I don't know about all that. The boot print does match, though. Okay, let me go back to my live chat here. Okay. So what do you guys think? Do you think the Ramseys killed their daughter? Patsy Ramsey killed her daughter? Or do you think the Ramseys are covering up for someone else? It's pouring the rain here too, Cohen. Sorry, I dropped something. I had to go pick it up. And my dog's already back at the door. Goodness gracious. Okay. I don't believe the intruder theory. Hey, Sapphire. It's hard to tell in this case, Brooke says. Never lose hope. I think Burke was sent to his room. All kids at 8 or 9 are very curious. It was Christmas morning, wasn't it? No, it was actually December 26th. See, they went to a Christmas party, Christmas night, right? And then she was killed sometime, I would say, after midnight. So it would have been on the 26th. So rigor mortis had already started to set in like JonBenet's joints and stuff. And it takes like, I think 12 to 24 hours, something like that, for rigor mortis to start setting in. So she had been dead for quite some time. Patsy, she did snap. Yeah, did y'all notice when we were looking at the pictures of JonBenet's long johns, did y'all notice in the front that it looked like something yellow was stained there? Like she had like wet herself. It was stained yellow. It was not blood stains. Did they not realize their daughter was already missing? I mean, why did the police not start taping off the scene? That's sticking with me. So according to Patsy, she came down the stairs and found the ransom note. So I guess she hadn't been in JonBenet's bedroom by that point. Then after the ransom note, she ran up to JonBenet's room. Her bed was empty. She started screaming, and then John came down. I think so too, Mike. I think so too. You know, one of the detectives went to talk to Patsy when she was about to die. And they thought, you know, talking to her, she would give a deathbed confession, but she didn't. She didn't. I don't think that'll happen when John Ramsey is ready to pass away either, because I think that they covered for their son. That's just my opinion. Something's weird about it. I mean, when in his police interview, I mean, Burke he's really evasive. You know, they ask him all kinds of questions, and he just has like the weirdest answers. The weirdest answers. It's like it didn't even bother that little kid that his sister was gone. I don't know. He just acts so much different than my son when he was like 8 or 9 years old. Oh, my, good point. You know, I should have thought about that. Duh. When you die, your body relieves itself of, you know, urine and feces. That's true, too. I was just thinking, though, hey, maybe she wet her bed. Patsy snapped on her. Because this was like a big problem. Like JonBenet wet her bed on a regular basis. I can see an intruder holding the household hostage for the money, but I don't believe the intruder thing. No. And here's something crazy. In that ransom note, it says use that Southern common sense. As far as I know, John Ramsey's not even Southern. Patsy is. Patsy's from West Virginia. She was from West Virginia. She was a beauty queen. And that's how JonBenet got into those pageants, because Patsy was a beauty queen. Hey, TL. Look, it came out after the murders. One of the Ramsey friends came out and said that Burke had hit JonBenet in the head with a golf club before, like a few months before that. It's also been stated there was urine stain outside of the wine cellar door where they believe she actually died and then put into the wine cellar. Wow, interesting. Exactly, Brooke. How many intruders do y'all know that have busted into a big house full of people, took a child or human in general without being caught? And here's another thing. That house is designed so weird. It's got like 3 or 4 stories to it. Like that's with the basement included, you know. Like you would have to know the layout of that house to get, you know, make your way through it without getting caught. You'd have to. You'd never find your way around in there. So weird. I'm going to eat cabbage, Brussels sprouts, broccoli before someone kills me. I'll get them back. Yeah. And like what intruder is going to take the time to write like almost a 3-page ransom and take time to practice writing it out? Most intruders want to get in and out without getting caught. Yes, it can happen. Intruders can come in and take kids from the bed without anyone seeing anything. Actually, Elizabeth Smart's sister saw it, from what I understand. But the parents were just like right across the hall or something. They didn't even wake up. I think there's like 2 staircases in the, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking about Michael Peterson case. I thought there was 2 staircases. Even the basement supposedly consists of many rooms. Yeah. And when the police first got there and they was searching the house, they didn't even open that room up that JonBenet's body was in. They said they couldn't get the door open. But a family friend had opened it up and looked in there, and he said he couldn't find the light. Fumbled around for the light, couldn't find it, so he closed it back. It was pitch dark, he said, so he didn't see her body laying there. Now, Burke did have like a train set that he played with down in the basement, too, for the record. Now, the new owners of the house have like totally redone the house. I think the new owners, that lady, her dad's like a big famous rich pastor. I've never heard of him though. Yes, Brooke, there were Elizabeth Smart's sister was in the bed beside her. Yes. Yeah. I think her sister woke up. She just had to lay there and be quiet, if I'm not mistaken. Have you ever watched the Elizabeth Smart movie on Lifetime? There's a movie, too, about this case. I just watched it yesterday. And I think that daggone movie is why I had it in my head that Bill McReynolds, the Santa Claus guy, his wife worked as a maid there. I think that's what made me get that in my head. Sometimes these movies are not accurate. They'll say based on actual events, and then they get stuff wrong in it. Just like with the Watts movie. Yeah, she was real little. She was younger than Elizabeth. So I bet she was petrified. Hey, I got so scared one time I had something happen to me. I got so scared one time I couldn't even freaking speak. I froze. That's about the only time I've ever froze. I've been scared about to death before. Of course, I was abused growing up. But I froze when something happened to me when I was an adult. Completely froze up. I couldn't scream. I couldn't say nothing. Hey, champ. How you been? Been missing you, hon. You ready for Christmas? Scary, isn't it, Brooke? It's very scary. Oh, guys, I got to get off here in a minute. My hubby will be home from his trip. He should be rolling in any second. Next Friday, we'll be doing another murder case that happened around the holidays. If y'all guys got any ideas about a case, it don't have to, have happened at Christmas. It could be like Thanksgiving. Let me know, comment below or something, let me know, and I'll be researching it this week. We're going to do one every Friday up until Christmas, up until like the week before Christmas. So the last one we'll do will be December 18th because I don't want to do a murder case on Christmas Day. I won't be probably live on Christmas Day. Probably Christmas night I will be. And Christmas Eve because, there are some people that are home alone. So they might want some company and they come hang out with me. Holly Bobo happened near me. It's interesting. Did that happen around the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas? We're going to do this every year in December, I've decided. Last year, I think I did some uploads. This year, I decided to do live streams about it every Friday up until the week before Christmas. Hey, Mike, it's been lovely chatting. Come back and hang out with us. Seem like a nice person, respectful person. Oh, it didn't happen? We'll still have to do that case one day. We'll still have to do the Holly Bobo case. Not well. Others have it worse. Just exist and love you. Say, aw, champ. You should join the Discord, champ. You can come in and shoot me a message whenever you want to talk, or let me get the link to the Discord before I get off here. Okay. Invite members. Share link. Okay. Now let me just find my daggone channel. I'm getting ready. When I get off here, guys, I will be ordering me a ring light. Because, you know, try to be on camera like we do trivia and stuff. And it was so dark, you couldn't even hardly see me. And it's something to do with this laptop and StreamYards. I mean, when I look at myself on the StreamYards screen, it's like there's plenty of light. But when it shows up like to y'all on YouTube, it's like dark as hell in here. So I'm going to get a ring light. Well, Merry Christmas, Mike. Hope you don't mind me saying that. A lot of people don't like to say Merry Christmas. I say it anyways. I'm not going to say happy. I may say Happy Holidays, but I like to say Merry Christmas. Anyways, I love y'all. I may see y'all tomorrow night. We may have a game night or something. I'm not sure yet. I'll let y'all know. Anyways, have a great day. Be safe, be kind, and peace. Oh, I got to get over here to my screen to end. Bye, guys.